I love doing this show. It's a weekly edition of the Hawks Film Lab, where Coach Bryce Coutts, you might know him as the host of the Hawks Eye podcast, but he's also an offensive coordinator, former college quarterback, and he runs his own quarterback academy. We get to dig into the X's and O's and the All-22 tape and get his coaching insight, and I get to pick his brain and learn something. It's always fun, whether we're talking about defense or offense, but when we get to talk about quarterback play, it's especially fun, even when we're talking about something that's not very pleasant. We're going to revisit what happened Sunday one more time and break down all four of Sam Darnold's interceptions, talk about what happened, what could have happened, what could have gone better, where some of the blame lies. It's not always on the quarterback. Not every interception is 100% on the quarterback. We're going to talk about some of the functional things in that Seahawks offense, how they can repair it, get ready for this game against Tennessee, the next three games before they get to the rematch with the Rams, Week 16. This is the Hawks Film Lab on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
If you're a football fan, and I can only assume you are since you're watching this show, this is the best app out there, bar none. Whatever you want to do. You want to play fantasy sports, and it's not just football, by the way. You want to play daily fantasy, you want to pick games, or if you want to get into games of skill, this is the #1 fastest growing sports app, and it is so for a reason. Right now, if you sign up today and use the promo code FOREVER, they're going to give you $20 right off the top. Don't even need to make a deposit just to get you started. But if you want to lean into it a little bit harder than that, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100, 100%. Again, use that promo code FOREVER. Check out the Sleeper app today. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's get to this. Seahawks, Rams. Seahawks lose 21-19 on Sunday, drop into second place all by themselves. They have to wait 4 more weeks to play the Rams again, and there's some work to be done. Chris Shula clearly understands the best way to defend Sam Darnold. So now it's a league of action and reaction. How are the Seahawks going to react? They've got 3 weeks to get it right. We go through the clips. Bryce explains what he sees, and then we have a conversation afterwards. It's one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with Bryce, and that is a high bar indeed. I hope you enjoy this. Okay, Coach. So I want to dive into this. Here's what we're going to do. Let's go through the clips. I want to hear what you see, and then we'll have a discussion afterwards about kind of the big picture and where all of this fits. So we're going to go through the 4 interceptions, one at a time. And those of you that are watching, I know this might be painful, but let's consider this therapy, right? We're going to talk about it. We're going to work through it together. We're going to come out of it feeling much better in the end, right?
That's the plan. And I think when everyone comes to the end of this, Dan, I think there'll be a little bit more understanding of just the quarterback position as a whole and how sometimes you got to let a play die, and how at the same token, your pass protection and your play call also have a massive input on how plays end up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we'll look at this first one. This is the first pick of the game. So you've got your safeties. They're in a 2-high shell right now. You've walked up your backers on the outside. So you basically, in a way, you're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line, and basically a 6-1 almost with one linebacker in behind. Now, again, these 2 individuals on the outside, they're basically going to take the tight ends. So 53 here and the outside here, they're going to deal with the tight end. So what Sam did is he checked on this play, because if he looks at this and he goes, okay, I've got it kind of matches up. You could run the ball. He could have stayed in a run, but he's not sure. He checks because I think he looks at it and goes, hey, I've got an opportunity here. They're going to come with all this pressure. I get the ball out. We're good. Problem is you look at what the Rams are doing, and Chris Shula did a fantastic job of doing this last year versus Sam.
Yeah.
And he did it again. And it's something I'm sure he went back and watched all the way back to week 1. Sam struggles with a robber defender, and that's who we've got highlighted here. This safety right down here, I believe it's Kitchens. Mm-hmm. He's the robber, and his whole objective here is eyes on the quarterback. Where's the quarterback looking? where am I going to go? So when we play this play through,
before we start this, because I wanted to clarify this on my own. It's like this is what I thought my eyes were seeing, but sometimes I question my own knowledge of the X's and O's on defense. So it looks like essentially what robber means is everyone else is playing man, but he's free to roam, right?
pretty much. So your robber, basically, his job is middle of the field, eyes on QB, and kind of just drifts around. That's what his robber role is. He's robbing the middle of the field. You assume, because based on this look, as a quarterback, you're seeing two shell high. You're assuming the middle of the field is going to be potentially open. This is what we would call middle of the field open, or MOFO, which means you have this middle area. Oops, sorry about that. Wrong button. You have this middle area here theoretically open. So you can run a post. You can run kind of anything, because these two theoretically have from the hash to the sideline.
Okay.
If you have middle of the field closed, you'll have one of them standing. So a lot of teams have been playing us heavy boxed, which means you get a single high look, which generally means you have middle of the field closed. So MOCO. So when we play this play through, you'll see as we get to the top here, I'll stop it. So now you look. Everybody is covered.
Locked up.
You've got basically in theory, this is like almost like a cover 2 robber, but it's not. It's basically cover 1, because you've got man with both corners, both outside backers, and the nickel picked up the tight ends, chipping and releasing. It's cover 1 robber in a way, because this guy is the only free defender. This guy's going to be, Kitchens down here. He's going to rob into this area right here with the eyes, as his eyes are already locked on Darnold. So he sees Darnold looking to his left. So now his responsibility is to start to drift, and the linebacker's responsibility is Ken Walker. So as this play goes through, you'll see here, this is key. Olu is getting shoved back into Darnold. So ideally right now, Darnold probably wants to rip this throw. He wants to let it go, because he knows Cup's going to gear down in here, and he's got his throw. That's how you do. That's the anticipation factor.
And we've seen him make that throw a dozen times this year.
Exactly. And so basically you've got basically the flat and the curl, and you've got the flat and the go. And JSN probably has an option to sit down. But in this case, because Kitchens is here, he knows I'm going vertical. That's my option. I'm going vertical. Sam is ready to throw this ball. He's on his back foot. He's ready to cut it loose. And Cup will probably come out of his break, and the ball would be on his mask. However, because of that inside interior pressure here that Olu gives up, Sam's now got to pull it down. He's now got to step. And now the robber knows I'm in business. I've got this opportunity, because he hasn't at all. At this point, what Sam should do is either bail out and try and extend it with his legs, or start looking at K9 as a check down in the middle of the field. However, Sam is so locked in and doesn't see the robber coming from the backside, which credit Chris Shula. Having a backside safety robber is absolutely brilliant, especially coming from the boundary side of the field. Because right now, currently, we were on the right hash, so the boundary is the short side. So for a quarterback, Sam's thinking, I've got all this open space to cup on this hook, because this safety's bailing out, and this safety's eyes are on JSN. So now as he goes to rip this, you just see Kitchens undercuts it. It's a dream. Great. I'm in the right spot, right place, right time, and he's gone.
And your point about the pressure, like, we've seen how strong Sam's arm is when he gets his back foot in the ground and he can rip it. If he could have done that there, it might have been close, but he still might have got it there, because, again, we've seen him make that exact throw when he has a good base.
100%. And the thing with that is and this is where interior pressure going backwards, like, it's different when you have interior pressure and you can navigate and move up in the pocket. It's different when that interior pressure is so forceful, it's pushing you back out of the pocket, especially when you're now locked in downfield. And that's the problem on this. Sam's got to come off that read with that pressure and go, okay, I can't make that throw. I got to get to my check down. That he still ripped it in there. So that's where you get the fault of Sam. So this is the INT coming out of the second half, which the sequence of these plays drive me nuts. So again, you have a 2 high shell. You've got 2 high safeties, and the Rams played a lot of this. This is what, in a lot of ways, Dan, we as Seahawk fans wanted to see. This means your box isn't as stacked. This means run the football.
Yep.
And so again, you see, I think it's Emmanuel Forbes down here. he's again showing a press look to Sam. So the minute Sam sees that boundary side, he's got Barner here. Maybe it's a curl concept. And the other thing with Sam here is he's probably looking at this linebacker standing up going, this guy's going to be responsible for Barner. So I'm outnumbered. I only have two receivers to my left into the boundary versus 3 defenders that can cover. So math immediately in his head goes, you know what? I'm coming off this. I'm going to focus on the wide side of the field. Because in theory, he's got 3. He's got Charbonnet, he's got Shaheed, and he's got JSN. So now you know where you're going. And you watch Sam take this. Sam's eyes never look to the left. He is immediately locked in on the right side. Now, running backs are generally taught, and I'm pretty sure Corbin Smith could correct me if I'm wrong on this, so I'll leave it open for interpretation. But my running backs I've always played with and coached have been taught inside-out protection. You go to the most dangerous threat area first, then you work outside because a quarterback can deal with more of that outside blitz pressure than he can inside. Now, the problem is here. This is a problem. You have one guy occupying 2 linemen. And again, this is a 4-man rush that is coming. So again, you've got basically what should happen is Lucas should kick out. He should be dealing here. Bradford should slide a bit and then be waiting for any stunt coming aside, especially with Fisk going out. It's very much what our Seahawks do so well.
Yeah.
And so when you see this happen, you watch. Bradford chases Fisk, and now Lucas is stuck there, and now you've allowed this defender a free rein. And this, again, is where your running back should be here, waiting for that before they get out. And Charbonnet kind of just hangs out outside and doesn't really do anything.
So is that more on Charbonnet or Bradford?
It's more on, to be honest, you can 50-50 split it.
Okay.
Charbonnet needs to stay inside. Bradford needs to know when to pass off. And so with this, again, you got press on Shaheed at the top. Now, Sam, again, this is the problem. You have 2 versus how many defenders? 1 Ram defender, 2, 3. This is not a good matchup for our quarterback and for our scheme right here, because you have 4 receivers out versus 1, 2, 3, basically 7 in coverage. You're outnumbered in this situation. This is ideally where you'd like to see Charbonnet. If you're going to leave, get out here on a swing, because now that presents pressure. Now this defender,
those guys are all going
up
the other direction. They're all bailing out.
Exactly. And so when he gets to the top of his drop, this is where Sam clutches again. Ball should be out now. But you see that slight hesitation because he sees the free defender?
Yeah. That
ball needs, he should be ripping this now. And if you're going to miss this throw, you have to miss this outside to the sideline. This needs to be a toe tap catch for JSN out of bounds. If he's not getting it, nobody is. And the problem is Sam leaves this inside. Inside, Durant can undercut it. There's your interception.
And again, I'll say the same thing I did about the first one. We've seen him make that throw a bunch of times. I was standing there in training camp this year, and I think I was standing right next to Corbin. And this just was like a bread and butter throw for him, throwing it early, throwing it before the break, the long out. He's got the arm to do it. And I turned to Corbin. I said, he makes that look easy, but the pressure changes everything.
Well, and this is the thing right now. So, when you look at this from a quarterback's perspective, and I'll undo some of these if I can, some of these marks here and clear it all. So, when I watch this from the start of this, when Sam gets the top of his drop here, so when he has his feet like that, this means the next step, that ball should be coming out of his hand. He should be in his throw motion.
Because there's nobody. That's the thing. We heard about how Clint Kubiak has outs. He has safety nets and escape hatches built into all his plays, but everyone's got their back turned to him right now. He has nowhere else. When he sees that free rusher, like you said, if Charbonnet was already out in the flat, that's an easy choice for him, and it's probably a 10, 15-yard gain. I think this was 3rd and 11 because on the first play of the second half, they went deep to JSN incomplete, and I think Walker got stuffed for no gain or a -1. So this is 3rd and long. But if he had just had that little split second, you got Charbonnet out there in the flat, it's an easy go. But everybody else has their back turned to him. He had nowhere else to go. His only option was to make an anticipation throw.
And the other big part of this too is, and this is really risky. just from a defensive point of view, you're squatting. This defender up here that we are highlighting in red is squatting at the sticks, which is, okay, you're playing the sticks and back, and you're squatting there and you're waiting on anything. Now, I can almost guarantee you the next time Seattle sees this or gives this look to the Rams and their defenders do that, there will be a check call where JSN now turns that to a blaze out or a post or a vertical or a head nod and up the sideline. Like some sort of double move will come in to catch Durant sitting.
Or what about even just cutting it short? Like you want to be at the sticks, right? But better to have a completion, give him a chance to make a play. Is there anything wrong with how JSN ran this route? Because this is a rounded off. This is not a hard out.
No, there is. He's trying to get to the sticks. That's the biggest problem. And you've got a defender squatting. So he's trying to get out there and be able to play on the ball as best he can. This is where I'm saying, like, I can, based on the leverage too, like Durant is leveraged outside, which again, that's where I wonder with Sam is you have an outside leveraged corner squatting on the sticks and you have an out route. This should be an immediately kill, and something should be called, or there should be some change to JSN, because as you watch this play through, like Shaheed goes inside. Okay, great. Shaheed's inside releasing the stick. JSN should be booking this right through here. Like he should nod to that and then just get vertical, and Sam should be laying this
inside leverage
right here. Yeah. And Shaheed's got this safety. His eyes are locked on to him. And that's where I'd say this is where, again, adjustments. This is, again, where there needs to be the DEL is what I teach my quarterbacks all the time. It's something I was taught in college. Depth, eyes, leverage. You look at the safeties, you figure out what their DEL is. You look to the corners. What's their depth? What's their eyes? What's their leverage? My immediate thing, if I see Durant and JSN on an outbreaker at 11 plus yards and he's already outside leverage squatting, that's not even a route I can think about. It's just not.
Yeah.
And so
where you have this paused right now, it almost looks like an old Mike Leach four verts, and where everybody has an option route and JSN would read that outside leverage and just either settle or cut it inside.
And see, this is the other thing I'm trying to figure out here with the bottom concept. I wonder if either Barner or Kupp did something wrong in the option read here, because both of them, like, unless they're running, because the way Barner's drifting, Barner should hard stop because he's taking away Kupp's route. And in theory, again, this is where Sam didn't even look to his left.
No, because Kupp's open there. Obviously he's not the right read. So or he's not the first read. And so I always try to, call myself on making too much out of still shots and, paused video like this, where it's like, well, Kupp broke when he was wide open. Well, he wasn't going to be able to get to that read. But let me just ask you this in a more general sense, because I thought it was kind of a common thread throughout the game. It was something I noticed early in the game, even before the last three interceptions in the second half. It seemed more than any other time we've seen him this year that he was staring guys down, that he wasn't scanning the field as much.
And this one here, to me, is what you would call a split field read or a half field read. It's not a true full field progressional read. And so what that means is, as a quarterback, I'm walking up and I'm identifying something and I'm attacking that side of the field, which means the left side, in this case for Sam, the left side almost doesn't exist. It's now blacked out. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
The thing with this, though, and again, for me as a QB, and I'm standing there and I see a corner and I know that I've got a vertical and an outbreaker at 12 to a squatting outside corner. If I'm making that throw, again, it's got to be perfect outside and high. And it's just one of those things where I go, there's so much risk to it. Are you guaranteed this is going to work? Like, what's your percentage you're playing here? Is it 50-50 that this works out? Or is it more like, hey, it's 60-40 that's in our favor? Then rip it. And, in this case, if I'm Sam and I know I've got a hook and an in backside and this backer here, yeah, he may drop, but I may get more room in here. So the thing that he immediately crossed off, like, that's a spot throw. Just hit that. Like if Sam had dropped the other way, he throws this, he's probably got a completion to Kupp.
Yeah.
But again, his eyes took him here. He misses short and inside, and Durant makes the interception. And it's just the way it is. So now this is Cam Kitchens again.
Who, by the way, the
And
Seahawks had in for a 30 visit last year. They liked him.
yeah, they did. So this is Arroyo on a bender route. And
Now this, I can't wait to hear your take on this because Greg Olsen was pretty critical of the route here.
Yeah, I am. So again, rookie tight end. This to me, you have to be more aware of where you are spatially on the field and what the defense is doing. And so initially when Sam's dropping, the key with this is Kitchens opens to the sideline. So he is more worried about JSN. That's where his initial priority read is. Look how he opens his hips.
Mm-hmm.
As a quarterback, that immediate cue of your hips being open, I'm throwing back inside because that is a hard turnaround for you. But what I'm expecting from my tight end is I'm expecting Arroyo, because he's running a bender, you need to now undercut this and get in here. Once you square that defender up, you got to get inside of him. And you watch how Sam rips this. Like he also, again, has pressure. You know, I will give Olu credit here, and everyone should watch this. He completely dumps Braden Fisk. He just kind of throws him on the ground. But again, Sam throws this, and because Sam, when he gets to the top of his drop, doesn't throw it, like the ball should be out now.
His motion is still compromised, though, because Lucas loses his rep a little bit on the outside.
But even still, this ball needs to be out. But he's now holding it because Arroyo does what young guys do. He goes out and then tries to come back in. Takes too long. Way too long. This needs to be get across his face now and get in the middle of the field. You're trying to split him.
And you're saying Arroyo should know that based on...
He should know that.
Based on
it's leverage. Again, as much as a quarterback needs to know depth, eyes, leverage, receivers running routes need to understand leverage of DBs and how to run their routes, because you may draw it straight on a line and say, hey, 15 yards, make your break. You also got to know, hey, if they're in cover 2 and I've got a guy that squares up on me at this point and the safety opens field, I got to get in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Because if he goes underneath the defender here and gets inside, Sam can rip this right now. But you see, as he breaks to the out and goes and widens this, Sam now has to hold the ball. And then Sam lets it rip, and then Kitchens can come in. And also what that does is Kitchens has got his eyes here to Arroyo, but because if Arroyo had hard cut this in front of the safety's face, if he hard cuts that, Kitchens has no chance of getting the ball. He'd have to go through Arroyo to get to it. In this case, Arroyo bends. Now Kitchens has all the time in the world to come scoot into here and pick this ball off.
As far as still screens go, just right there where you have it, that just looks like nothing good can happen. Like he's winding up, he's halfway into his motion, and the guy's, Arroyo's covered up and about to break inside.
100%.
Yeah.
And this is again where, Sam takes his quick 3 from under center. And again, this is where Sam's counting numbers in his head pre-snap, right? So you've got 3 Rams defenders down here to 2 Seahawk receivers. That's not a recipe for success. So Sam looks at it this way and goes, I know I've got Ken going out, so Ken Walker's going to come up, and he's going to go out this way on a little check. I know I've got Arroyo down the seam. So I like my matchup here because I know that I'm basically playing even numbers with my running back going this way. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 1, 2, 3. And then as you get to this point, you can see Ken comes through the line. And there's your break point where Ken goes out. Cool. We're in okay shape. Again, Arroyo does look at that open space if Arroyo cuts underneath.
Yeah, and it'd be so easy again to look at this frame and say he should just dump it to Walker there. But Walker's
already throwing.
He was so late. He's already committed into his throwing motion there. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is, again, you've got Sam. In this one, I put more on Arroyo than I do on Sam. But again, Sam still pulls the trigger.
Right. It's like the old Matt Hasselbeck, Alex Bannister debate from the Green Bay playoff loss in, what was that, 04? Yeah.
So here you go. This is Darius Williams. This is your jump pass.
Yeah.
This is no one's favorite one. So the one thing I'll say that bothered me about this, Dan, in this game, and again, this is going back and watching the All-22, Seattle's O-line struggled so much with four-man rush. And they even kept tight ends and backs in to assist. If you're doing that, you shouldn't be failing as badly as they were in keeping the pocket clean. And so on this one, yeah, they bring an extra guy off the edge, and Walker picks him up. But this is the worst part, is you have Anthony Bradford.
Oh, he's going to be looking right at Sam Darnold here in a second.
Yep, right now. Oh, Sam, look out, is basically what he should be yelling at this point.
Or maybe he needs to be the check down.
Yeah, at that point, you might as well just turn around and try and get his number to be an eligible one, because this is, again, Sam now steps up. And the worst part is Zabel pushes Bradford out of the way.
I feel terrible for every time I've defended Anthony Bradford.
Like, you just can't do that. But like here, the problem is Sam's moving around. So his eyes now are not downfield at all. It's not till this second right here where he sees Arroyo, but because of Lucas, doesn't see this defender.
Yeah.
He assumes Arroyo's closest defender is probably the linebacker right there. And then throws it and bang.
Yeah.
Again, eat the ball. My biggest issue with this whole play
is also, do you think he thought Arroyo was still going to carry that to the middle of the field too, instead of settling? Not that it would have mattered, but
based on how that ball's thrown, I think he assumed he's settling.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, from that angle.
And so when you watch from this point of view, this is the other view of it. Okay, so we look at this. Okay, so we know outside here, again, we've got 2-on-2. You got your corner. You got Kitchens is down here. So this is, again, where we heard Cooper Kupp talk about something I saw Shula do a lot. You get a safety. This is a single high look, middle of the field closed, because that safety is standing right over the ball, which is the middle of the field based on the offense. Now, as you watch this through, Kitchens does come on this, so you do get that look.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sam's looking to his left. Okay. And everyone's saying, again, this is where Sam, I think, got a little jittery in this because he had so much pressure throughout the game.
This is the one of the four that concerns me about it potentially being a lingering issue, because we've seen him make throw after throw this year with a guy in his face and it didn't even rattle him. But here he seems to get happy feet.
Yeah. So here's the issue I got with this. And this is where, in my personal opinion, this play, outside of the O-line being a failure, this is when I put a bit on Sam, because identify personnel better. Do you know who this is out here?
Is that Jared Verse?
That is Byron Young.
Byron Young, okay.
Byron Young matched up on Cooper Kupp and JSN.
Yeah. That should be
Doesn't matter. So here's my point with this. We go one, like Sam's looking to his right. He's looking to go. He wanted to go to Shaheed on this. Didn't work. Okay. This dude has no idea how to cover.
And he's facing the sideline. How is that not ripped to Kupp right there?
I wouldn't rip it to Kupp. I'll play it a couple steps forward. Right now, I'm throwing this right here.
Huh.
And I'm letting JSN cut and go to it, because that dude ain't making a play on that ball. And you'll see it as I go through a little bit farther. Well, and this is where the problem is. Sam had taken his eyes away. He got there and he was like, nope, I'm away from it. There's three defenders here. Yeah, this isn't a defender in pass coverage. That's Byron Young, who has no idea why he's going out there.
And this is why I say I was concerned that this felt different than what we've seen him do the rest of this year, because in other situations that he's faced similar to this, he would just turn his feet and just go back to the other side, because Shaheed breaks wide open in the middle of the field here. And we've seen other instances of this where he would just go to his next read and rip it to him in the middle of the field.
And the other thing I'll say here is we got to look at where this took place in the game. Again, this is 3rd and 3. Seattle realistically should be running.
Yep.
Second part of this is you have had the game is sped up a bit on Sam at this point. And I think it's sped up on Clint Kubiak too, and what they wanted to do potentially coming into this game and how they got off script. But like when I look at this and I go, no personnel, Byron Young out there, like he can't cover. He ain't going to get to the right spot drop. But I wonder if Sam even knew that was Byron Young out there. He might have looked at it and been like, oh, it's one of their defenders. It's Forbes or somebody. Problem is you watch this play through and you watch JSN. Like if Sam had hung on to this or ripped it right there, if he rips this ball, JSN catches this because this defender is eyeing Cup.
Worried about
that's
Coop.
his guy.
Yeah.
So this means the safety here, who's flat-footed, or will be eventually, is got to figure out, is JSN going by me?
Yeah, he's in.
Is he going to the corner, or is he breaking to the out?
Yeah.
And he's just basically waiting. But then Sam comes off of it. Now Shaheed, he'd have to put the ball over here, which he's still putting it in harm's way.
Yeah.
Now, this is just where Sam gets into trouble with it. And he tries to duck and dodge, and then he dumps the ball right in the middle.
And for a guy that's looked to JSN almost to a fault at times, that's the one that makes me think. And I've pushed back, and I've gotten offended by people that continue to go back to the whole New York Jets Monday Night Football thing about seeing ghosts. But a play like this is exactly what people are talking about when they say that. This only happens because his head isn't clear in this moment.
No, it's not. And that's the biggest thing I have here is you have JSN, and just by virtue, look at Byron Young at this point. He is squatting on Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
All of this real estate out here, JSN would have already probably caught the ball and potentially had a one-on-one with a safety.
He doesn't even need to layer it. He can rip
it. Yep. So that's kind of how I look at this. And I go, there's things I go with on this, Dan, where I go, Sam struggled. Sam had a sped up process. The O-line didn't protect well. And you have play calling questions and I'm sure we'll get into a bit of those.
I used to be one of those people that could fall asleep anywhere, anytime. It was awesome. But over the last few years, that's changed. If it's outside noise or neighbors in my building, midnight zoomy cat Olympics, or just the effects of age, it's gotten tougher. For years now, I've had to run a fan for white noise, and I've tried melatonin and sleep aids, but I wake up feeling groggy, and that's no way to start the day. But then I was introduced to the Manta Sound Sleep Mask. And this thing, guys, I'm telling you, this is a game changer. It gives me true 100% blackout and has ultra-thin Bluetooth 5.2 speakers built right into the mask. So I can fall asleep to the sound of music, something I've done since I was a kid. And I'm telling you, the sound quality of these speakers honestly blew me away. I was not expecting them to be as good as they are. And now I don't have to deal with earbuds falling out while I toss and turn. Plus, it's got a 20-hour battery life and can be used without the speakers. You simply remove that outer layer held on by Velcro. So if falling asleep at night or just taking a much-needed nap has gotten tougher for you too, check out the Manta Sound Sleep Mask at mantasleep.com. And if you use my promo code FOREVER, they're going to give you 10% off your purchase. So just go to the description of this video, click the link, use the promo code, and enjoy the best sleep you've ever had. Yeah, so let's talk about the offensive line first of all, because I have been a staunch defender of theirs this year, and for good reason. It is dramatically better than it has been for the last 10 years by every single metric. They still, to this point, I think maybe this is a good lesson for myself and people who have been thinking like me that it isn't all about sacks. Didn't get sacked in this game. Still has only been sacked 10 times, on pace for 17. The least number of sacks the Seahawks have ever allowed in a season was 21. And that was in 1977 when there were only 14 games. It's remarkable, right? However, you watch a game like this, and it's pretty evident that, and I heard someone put it in good terms the other day. They said they basically have to block with 5.5 on every play. So when you talk about Clint Kubiak in this scheme and how he always does have a check down, he has a hot, he has an escape hatch. Well, if you have to keep that option in an extra beat or two to chip somebody or make sure there isn't a stunt they have to pick up, on every one of these plays, there wasn't a running back in the flat or open for a check down available because they had to stay in and help block. And then we saw the egregious stuff on Anthony Bradford still. It's still, and I want to say this, and we'll get into this before we wrap it all up. I don't mean to take all the blame away from Sam Darnold, right? And we'll talk about how you feel about him generally, but this is still an offensive line that isn't quite good enough in games like this, right?
It's not. And this is where I think you got to look and go, okay, in the offseason, they're going to have to address it because you can't turn into this pass happy team that they did this weekend. You're not built to do it. And when you're not built and your line's not built to do it properly, you're going to have exactly what we saw today, Dan. You're going to see this O-line struggle. And to your point, it's not always about sacks. I always look at it this way. Sacks to me are a 50-50 split on QB and lineman. Pressure, and if that pressure number is high, that to me is more generally on the line because you're seeing and you're missing stuff in protection that's allowing that pressure. The pressures don't always equal sacks, but what pressure constantly does to a quarterback is speed up their thought process. You think you have 2.5 to 3 seconds, but the pressure makes it 1.5. And that small smidgen to this point on the last play that we showed with Sam and throwing to JSN, the minute he felt the pocket move and shift in a weird way, he pulled off that read. And that literally contributes to him now ducking around. It contributes to him throwing that ball to Arroyo. It falls apart. And that's where I look at it and I go, okay, if we aren't built to do this, then you can't. And the thing that frustrated me the most in this game, Dan, was you were only down 11 points at any point. That was the most you were down at any point in this game. You can't look at that and justify it and go, okay, cool, we're going to ask our quarterback to throw it 44 times. Like Sam Darnold had 25 pass attempts by the start or halfway through the third quarter. He averages between 24 and 28 a game.
Yeah.
And that to me, like I've heard people say, oh, well, because they got up, they were down right off the bat. That's why they had to scrap their game plan. No, you don't. You're not down 3 scores, 21-0. Then okay, now we gotta find a way to get ourselves back into this. You look at some of the teams that have been down in the past in bigger games in AFC championships. I go back to thinking of the Peyton Manning New England Patriots game that the Colts finally got over the hump. They were down, I think, 24-0 at one point, or they were close to it, and they still ran the ball and they still maintained their offense because it was so early in the game.
When I think about when they came out at halftime too with the ball because they deferred, and in his sideline interview, Mike McDonald said, the key when he was asked what the key to the second half was, he said, "We got to get back to who we are on offense. We got to get back to our identity. We can't just throw it all out the window." They were only down 5, so I expected to see them come out and run the football, and yet they take a deep shot on first down, and then they get stuffed on second down, and then we saw the interception after that. It seems like what I'm seeing and what I hear you saying is a couple of things would have helped mitigate this. First of all, if your offensive line is good enough to just block with 5, if the Rams are only going to rush 4, you have to be able to handle them with 5, and then you don't need to keep Ken Walker in. You can have him in the flat, and that in and of itself is going to have to force the Rams to keep a defender up and account for Walker. And he can be so dangerous in the open field, and we haven't seen him be part of the passing game yet. So that's part of it. And then the other part is when they face this team again, we've seen Chris Shula do this to him now twice effectively. You have to have, do you need a better plan as far as route concepts go? Just shorter, quicker stuff?
What Chris Shula did really well is he really went into playing that robber, again, to deal with that safety coming down into the box and then bailing out last second, like Cup's talking about. You have to be more patient with the run game, and you have to be patient with dink and dunk, and you have to do a lot of those things because they're trying to bait you into the explosive plays. I would like to see more rub concepts being built into this offense. Like one of the staples that I love out of the West Coast offense is like Y over, where you basically run your Y or your slot or whoever over the field. We've seen George Kittle do it to us numerous times. We barely see this with Arroyo or Barner where they're running an over route. It's an out, it's a hook, it's, that's about it. Really, if you think of what Barner's route tree has been this year, it hasn't been extensive. And then, the other thing is move Sam. Don't make him a statue.
Yes. We saw what 4 or 5 boots in this game, but just what surprises me, and it did on Sunday as much as any because of what we're talking about here, is we see the boot action a couple of times. We don't see any designed runs, and we don't see him even trying to take off and scramble or run. It's almost as if that's a conscious decision. Like they're telling him, protect yourself. We don't want you out there getting crazy and trying to pick up yards with your feet. It just seems like, we heard that one of the reasons that he appealed to them so much in free agency is because of his athletic ability, his ability to move and play the boot game. And yet it still feels like they haven't fully realized that.
No, and that's the thing for me where I kind of look at it and I go, if that's if that's a strength of Sam's, and you get into situations with Sam where he's struggling to do the drop back, lean into that, get him out of the pocket, give him some easy reads. Like sometimes, and again, we always talk about the overthinking. Did Kubiak overthink this and so on? Do coaches overthink things? You kind of get into a situation I always like to call it, and it's for a quarterback too. It's like quicksand. You kind of get stuck and then you keep fighting to get unstuck and you just keep sinking and sinking and sinking. And that can be from a play caller's perspective of you think something's not working, so you're going to do all this other stuff to try and get this thing and it gets away from you. And same with a QB at this point with Sam. It's like, I'm going to make the right read. I'm going to do this. Oh, no, I can't, because the last time, and I guarantee you got to look at this 3rd and 3 from Sam's perspective. That wide side out, what happened the last time he threw it earlier in the game? Oh, it was picked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that again. So now I see a black jersey out there. He doesn't know it's Byron Young, but I see a black jersey underneath JSN. I'm not cutting that loose. I'm going somewhere else, and comes off of it. Instead of like, okay, look, it's Byron Young out there. I'm attacking that side of the field with Byron Young, because Shula, I guarantee you in that situation, banked on it going, I don't think Sam's going to identify that this is Byron Young playing corner out here, and he's going to come off of it, and we're going to get him flustered into the spot we want him to.
So the fascinating thing to me about divisional play and facing teams twice is you get that chess match, right? It's kind of like the football equivalent of like a playoff series in baseball, where you see each other so often that then it's the counter move. So when they face them again in 4 weeks, in week 16 on Thursday Night Football, you're an offensive coordinator. You're a quarterback coach. As you're game planning for them that time, you obviously have to account for and plan for how you will approach it different if they do this exact same thing again. But also, do you expect them to do this exact same thing again?
So it's really interesting when you play these divisional games and you play a team twice, you play a team a third time, especially if you lose, you're going to try and reinvent yourself in some aspect, but you can't lose.
Be a mistake, right?
And on defense, well, at least when I played and when I coached at the collegiate level, what you get with some teams is they will throw wrinkles in, but they're going to stick to what they know works.
Yeah.
And they'll adjust off of that. So they may not show you the exact same look, but the principles of what they want to run and they know works against you, they will show you again, because they're going to bank on it. Yeah, you may have a curveball. We'll deal with it, but we're going to take away what you do well. The thing in this game with Seattle, listening to everyone say, oh, Seattle was the better team, Seattle was this. In my opinion, I look at it and go, Seattle didn't even run their identity of their offense in this game. It wasn't a play action, run the ball, chew the clock, do those kind of things. It was we got taken out of it early. We went into attack panic mode because we thought we needed to catch up, because I bet you Clint Kubiak went, oh crap, McVay's on the other sideline. He's going to know what I like to do. So we're going to accelerate our plan because we got to play catch up, because and if you think about it from Kubiak's perspective, I'm not defending him here. The Seahawks offense in those first couple of drives were struggling with the Rams offense defensively. Sorry. Seattle's defense was struggling with the Rams offense a little bit.
Yeah.
McVay was kind of toying with McDonald. McDonald alluded to it being like, yeah, we had to settle down. We had to settle down. We had to do our thing. And then but at that point, that accelerated, I think, Kubiak to throw as much as he did on that opening drive, which gave the interception, even though they were only tied at that point because Seattle got the stop. And it just started this spiral effect. And so when you get into those spiral effects, you have to have an ability to, whether it's Rick Dennison or John Benton or one of these older coaches, be like, Clint, we're good still. Just go back to what we do. Run the football, do those things. Because, and to be honest, I think this was Ken Walker's best game of the year. Even outside of the Pittsburgh game, you had very few negative runs. You saw that he was starting to get his track and see the hole well and hit some of those cutback lanes and lean into that and then run your boot package off of it. Like, the thing that's driving me nuts this year is we haven't seen what I call a Y zip, which is your Y tight end is to the side you're running play action to. So your back, say if your Y was on the left, your back's running play action that way. And he comes underneath to the opposite flat. That hasn't been something we've seen a lot from Seattle this year. And that's like a staple of
that's like Shanahan. That's a Kyle Shanahan thing, yeah.
And that's a Sean McVay thing. Think about in this game how he did it with Ferguson and Higbee and all those guys.
Yeah.
It's such an easy extension of the run game. So if you don't necessarily want to hand it off, you can do that. Like, that's where I just look at it and I kind of go, you got out coached.
We hear Mike McDonald talk about complementary football all the time. And I would think a big part of that is trust. Like you made a good point about early in the game, like, oh shoot, they're up 14-3. Like, we play better with the lead. I need to try and get them that lead so Mike can turn it up on defense and do what he does. But once you got to the second half, he should have been able to see. And those guys, it's not like Clint's up in the box. He's on the sideline. They could talk to each other and say, oh, okay, Mike's got this locked down. I can be patient a little bit. I can run the football. I can try to do these things. As a quarterback coach, how concerned are you that this might linger? What's your confidence level in Sam's? I know he bounced back on the last two drives, and in that instance, he looked very comfortable. But how confident are you that he can put this behind him and move forward and do more of what he was doing over the first 9 games?
Oh, I don't think it's a question. He can do what he did over the beginning of this year. I'm not overly concerned with it. Quarterbacks have bad days. It happens. Sometimes the defensive coordinator gets your number that week. Sam's going to look at this and he's going to go, yeah, I got the ball. Yeah, I got to do a better job of identifying my pre-snap cues. It's not like I look at this and go, holy crap. Like, Sam was just out to complete lunch. Like, he looked like he was a rookie. Like, the coverages and stuff Schuler was running there's tendencies in them. So I guarantee you the next time that we play Schuler's defense, and again, Sam is getting another crack at it with another coordinator in round 2 in the same season without it being round 2 playoff round 2 where everything's heightened. It's round 2 regular season. It'll be an important game. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be the deciding game for the NFC West, but I think Sam looks at it and goes, I've now played this a couple of times. I have an understanding of it. I'm going to be more familiar with my offense even because, again, this is a new offense for Sam against Chris Shula. He had the same situation last year in Minnesota. It was a new offense with Kevin O'Connell. It's a new offense. Yes, there's things that overlap. Great. It's still a new system. He's going to be more familiar. I'm not saying he's going to be interception free. I'm not saying he's not going to turn the ball over again.
Yeah.
I don't expect Sam to be throwing 4 interceptions again and being the deciding factor in a lot of ways of how the outcome of the game went. Because I think he's going to look at it and go, hey, I had one of my worst games statistically. My defense and my defensive captain there went to bat for me at the press conference and went to bat for me on the field. And we only lost by 2 points and had a chance to win if it wasn't for, I think, the best punt I've ever seen for a coffin corner in a game.
Whew.
Like, Seattle gets the ball on the 20. They may be on the 35 of LA to kick that game-winning field goal rather than, out at midfield for a 61-yarder.
Yeah. So many things had to go against game. We talk about analytics all the time with now the way that teams approach fourth down and how, yeah, you might get stuffed 2 or 3 times on it, but over the course of a large sample size, you're going to end up ahead. It's pretty simple to look at this game and say, if he had just eaten the ball and taken sacks on all 4 of those plays, they probably win that football game. Is this the exact same thing that Chris Shula did to him in the Rams playoff game against the Vikings last year?
He didn't bring as much pressure as he did last year. He brought more pressure last year in blitzes.
So he brought
back end
more extra rushers.
Yeah, he brought extra rushers last year. He did throughout this game, just not the tick that he did last game.
Yeah.
I think the one reason why you didn't see him do it this game, and this is again what frustrates me about this game, Dan, is the Vikings had a beat up O-line last year in that playoff game, and they couldn't run the ball a lick.
Yeah.
I think Chris Shula looked at it and went, the way Ken Walker was running in that first half, he's probably sitting there going, like, I can't be blitz happy or pressure package happy, because if they pop a run, I've got nobody in behind it. Like I'm hooped. Instead, he looks at it and goes, they're not really committing to this run. Great. I don't have to. I'm just going to stunt my front four a bunch and maybe bring the other one guy once in a while. And that'll cause enough problems and chaos for Seattle up front.
I feel like they have a really interesting and I think a cool transition here over the next 3 games to get to that next Rams game. First of all, this week, there could not be a better way for him to try to bounce back and for that offense to try and come back from that performance than to play the Titans. I mean, it's the worst roster in the league, and I don't even think it's close. Their offense is averaging 14 points a game. It's dead last in the league. They're dead last in just about every offensive category, and their defense isn't much better. They're in the 20s in just about everything. They can get to the passer a little bit. They harassed Davis Mills a little bit last week, but we know about that Houston offensive line and how bad they are, and it was Davis Mills playing quarterback. So you have a pretty soft landing, pretty easy game to go out, kind of get everything back on track, even without Gray's able at left guard. And also, I'll be in the stands in that game in Nashville, so they have that going for them. But then you have some really cool exposures the next 2 weeks. You play a Vikings team that I would imagine they'd be favored in, given J.J. McCarthy and his learning curve. And I think Mike McDonald's really going to be able to do some things to get in his bag and really confuse McCarthy and take advantage of his inaccuracy. And so I think for that reason, they'll be favored. But Brian Flores is no joke, and that Minnesota defense is pretty legitimate. He's going to see what Chris Shula did last week, and there's going to be some similar concepts. And they're going to test Sam. So that'll be a really good test for him, but a game they should be capable of winning. And then even the next week, a Falcons team that's reeling, and they just lost Michael Penix for the season. Drake London's out. But we're talking about Raheem Morris and a much improved Atlanta defense with a bunch of young, fast pass rushers that can put some pressure on you. So I feel like there's kind of this sort of gradual ramp up of intriguing and valuable experience that they could get over the next 3 weeks to get them ready for that rematch.
The stretch Seattle's about to go on between now and the Rams game is ideal for them to get their offensive identity cemented in a lot of ways. You have the opportunity against these teams to run the ball. You can go back to your play action. You don't have to look at it like the biggest game I circle, and that's the Colts game, and it's at home. Mm-hmm. That game, you're again going to be playing a team that has some explosive capability on offense. If Daniel Jones is on and Jonathan Taylor is doing his thing, you can't be giving the ball away. The biggest thing, Dan, for this team is to limit the turnovers in general. And Sam's contributed to a bunch of them with the fumbles and the interceptions, but they've got to start limiting it to like maybe one every couple of weeks. Not, hey, we've had a turnover basically all year long. Like, what was their last turnover-free game?
He's gone. So it's, I don't know about fumbles off the top of my head, but in the last 4 games, he's had 7 picks and then the fumble in the end zone against Houston. So he's had 8 turnovers in the last 4 games. I know that. So it's been 5 games since he hasn't thrown an interception.
Because I was going to say Washington, he threw an interception in that game, I believe, right? So like, it's something. So we got to go back past our bye week to think about a game where Sam hasn't had some sort of turnover. And I know when I say that, people are going to be like, see, like he's turnover prone. No, in those games, it wasn't the determining factor. You were up in a lot of those games. The Commanders game, you were up. The Houston game, you were able to, withstand. It's games like this where you're playing teams that have a good offense and a good defense that the turnovers will bite you in the ass.
Well, and I'll say this too. And I've believed this for a long time. You and I have talked about this a lot. I have since I started watching Sam Darnold more closely last year in Minnesota. It struck me that the comp for him is Matt Hasselbeck. He reminds me of Matt Hasselbeck in so many ways. And they were similar in this way also, although Sam has a much better arm. If you take away the aggressiveness, right? If you try to coach interceptions out of him, then a lot of those throws that he makes on a weekly basis that are beating teams, then he stops making those throws too. You can't put the reins on him too tightly. So he may just be a guy that throws 12 interceptions every year. And if the retort to that from some fans is, well, Matt Stafford only has 2 interceptions, why can't he be like that? Well, Matt Stafford's 37 years old. He's been doing this for 15 years in this league. And he had a lot of years where he threw a lot of interceptions too, right? So you kind of have to take the good with the bad right now. I think we forget sometimes. Yeah, Sam Darnold had quite a bit of starting experience his first 2 years in New York and then in Carolina later on. But those are on bad teams. It's different experience, right? He's only had a year and a half of experience playing for good teams, for good coaches with good schemes and good supporting casts. So that's one thing that really sticks with me is we're still on the uphill part of this progression.
We totally are. And this to me, Sam right now is in the 2003 back half to 2004 Matt Hasselbeck climb. That's where he's at for me in his, comp, because I agree. He very much is Matt. And I think, it's an interesting thing to see another quarterback like that because, you had the extreme high with Russell when he came in and Geno's played well, but you have a quarterback that is still growing in some aspects. I just want to throw these numbers out here, Dan. The last game against the Rams, Seattle faced probably one of its lowest single high rates this year. It was only 40% of what the Rams did. 60% of what they did was too high. They also played man 17% of the time. They played zone 82. But just to look at tight coverage rate of percentage of tight coverage was almost 30% from the Rams. That is extremely impressive.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the narrative with the Rams defense the last couple of years and even leading up to this game was, well, you can pick on their secondary. Their DBs aren't very good. I think that narrative needs to go away. I mean, they traded for Roger McCreary before the trade deadline. He didn't even play yesterday or Sunday. I think that young secondary is pretty damn good, and we need to start giving them some respect. Another thing that we haven't talked about yet, but you touched on with me almost immediately after the game, is another thing that might have helped this offense. This was their normally the play action rate for this offense is around 30 to 35%. This one, I think it was 21%. The only other game that was this low was San Francisco week 1 when we had some of the same complaints. What is it about Clint Kubiak where he gets away from play action?
I think it honestly has to do with the fact he thinks that the other team knows what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And that's kind of where, I look at it and I go like, you can't live in that world of, yes, okay, great. We've hired you to be our offensive coordinator. We get Kyle and Sean know this scheme and how it works. This is where and this is again where I look at it when so many people, Dan, were jumping on the Clint Kubiak's going to be gone after this season and a head coach somewhere. Head coaches have to be able to adjust. You can't have a factor where you play someone that knows your system and it's all of a sudden like it falls apart. Like look at Matt LaFleur. He runs the same system in a lot of ways. He learned from McVay. When he plays him, you don't necessarily see the Packers offense all of a sudden fall apart and go completely away from what they do because Sean's standing on the other sideline. When Sean and Kyle play each other, you don't see that. You see them still run their schemes. Like it's one of those things where I just look at it and I go like, you cannot do that as an offensive coordinator, get that far away from your identity.
I'm glad you brought Matt LaFleur's name up because a lot of people consider him one of the real sharp play callers in the league, but there's Packer fans that want him fired. So it just goes with the job. You're never perfect as a play caller. Even Rams fans, even though they won the game, they're upset with how McVay ran that offense on Sunday. They think it's his fault.
Yeah, but he stuck to what he knows and does well. And that's why I give him credit. Like they didn't bail away from it. They stayed right to it.
You think it's possible that Sam's been playing so well that Clint Kubiak got a little not overconfident because you want to be, but he just thought, you know what, I can call whatever I want because Sam's going to get it done.
Yeah, and I think Clint got a little impatient because he's been living with the explosive plays for so long. They've been such a, you heard the chatter, hey, this is the most explosive offense we've seen since the 2000 Rams, greatest show on turf. And sometimes as an OC, you kind of go, well, I want to play now. Like I need this to hit now. So I'm going to call this play because it's hit prior and we get big yards out of it. Well, no, I need to stay patient. I need to take the dink and dunk, because as much as quarterbacks get greedy and want to take those deep throws down the sidelines, OCs love to call those plays because it also is a great feeling when, hey, we got the deep shot. We got this big explosive play. It kind of amps up everybody. But sometimes you're in a game where it's like, no, I can't do that. I have to be patient. I have to wait till the perfect moment to dial up. And one of the perfect moments was the Rashid Shaheed opportunity in the end zone. The ball was just thrown inside instead of out to the side. But that, you think of how long it took to get to that play and that opportunity for that. That's sometimes how these work out. One thing about this game too, Dan, just statistically speaking, Sam was throwing to his first read 71% of the time.
How does that compare to what he's done the rest of the year?
So if I take that and say, pick a game for me, Dan, what game do you want me to look at here? I'll pick a game. Pull up
the Tampa Bay game where he just, lit it up.
So that would have been week 4.
Week 5.
Week 5. Sorry. Hold on. Let me pull week 5. There we go. Week 5. Thank you. So in week 5, let me look at this, take this off. Just want to make sure I get all the, I don't want to give week 5. So 50% of the time.
First read.
How about the 26 to the second?
How about the Commanders game when he went 17 for his first 17? That was probably a pretty high.
Which week would that would have been week 9? No, week 10, the Commanders game? Because week 8 we had the bye, week 9, yeah, it would have been week 9. Okay, week 9 for Sam here. 83% of the time in that game.
Yeah, because he didn't have to.
He didn't have to. So let's go. I just want to I'm curious now because you got me on this trend. So week 10 for Sam was against, hold on, let's make sure that's right. Week 10, which was in week 10 again? That was the Cardinals.
Yeah, week 10 would be, week 10's Cardinals. Yeah, week 9 Washington. So that was 80%. So yeah, the Cardinal game, he was
61% in the Cardinal game.
Okay.
So you're seeing a bit of a trend here. And if I just go the whole season for Sam, Dan, it is 61% first read, 7% second read targeted, and then the play action rate is at 23.2%. Again, the play action rate in this Rams game, when I pull this up, it's not going to be pretty. Yeah, it was below the average.
Yeah. Interesting. Final question. Let's talk about the offensive line for one more second, because I had a conversation with Greg Bell yesterday, and I thought this was a really interesting aspect of it, where as we're talking about Bryce Coutts and how you account for him while he's gone, and then what happens when he comes back. By the time we play the Rams again, whether he'll be ready or not, we don't know. But Jalen Sundell will be eligible to come off the injured list. And we heard before he got hurt, we heard in training camp that the plan would be, if anything were to happen to one of the guards, if Bryce Coutts were to have gotten hurt and Sundell was healthy, he would have kicked a guard and Olu still would have come in to man the pivot. I think it's pretty clear to expect that when Sundell is healthy and Zabel's back healthy and everyone and Olu continues to play well, and Mike McDonald was very effusive in his praise about how he felt Olu held up on Sunday, I think it's fair to say that he might hold down that job for the rest of the year. I think they give Sundell a chance to play right guard, and that might be the best 5 that we could put on the field with what we have on the roster right now, and might improve that pass protection a little bit in time for week 16.
I completely agree with you. I think, to be honest, I don't know how people can still sit there and look at Anthony Bradford and go, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
I was that guy week 5, especially when they shut down Vita Vea and Greg Gaines. I saw reps that I thought looked better. I thought his technique was better, but that was then. As the season's gone on, I think he's put on the weight again that they said he lost over the offseason. His body doesn't look better. I think he's slow out of his stance. He's leaning again. He doesn't play through the whistle, and he just doesn't seem to be aware of what's happening.
He lunges a lot. Lunges a lot, and you can't lunge in the zone.
No.
The zone run scheme, you can't lunge in. Yeah. It's about working as unison as a group. The amount of times I see the gaps break down on Bradford's side because he's lunged, it causes problems. I would not be shocked if our starting five going into the playoffs is not Cross, Zabel, Olu, Sundell, Abe Lucas.
Me neither. And I think that would give us our best chance to win. Now, it still isn't as stout as you might want, and they might struggle to get push sometimes, but I think they would be able to operate the wide zone, and I think it would be our best pass protecting five that you could put in front of Sam Darnold, and that would give him the best chance to succeed. This was a fun one. I feel better about it. And again, I think the best thing that we have to look forward to is, I'm sorry, I try to guard myself in this league against being overconfident, because I say it all the time. It's a week-to-week basis, and if you show up and play well, you can beat anybody. I just don't think this Tennessee Titans team has any chance to even challenge us unless we put the ball on the ground 6 times, and I don't expect that happening. I think this is an angry team. Mike McDonald came out today and said no more walkthroughs. We're going to practice full speed now on Wednesdays to get to the next level. That's what we need to do. I think they have something to prove, something they want to prove, not that they have to. And I think they want to rally around Sam Darnold and get him back on track. And I think you're going to see them destroy Tennessee on Sunday, and we're all going to feel a lot better about it. And we're going to look back on this game at some point and go, okay, they learned from that. They got better from it. Because to your point, even Daniel Jeremiah on the radio this morning, I think it was this morning or yesterday on Seattle Sports 710 in Seattle, he said, I know they lost the game and the Rams are a really good team, but he said, from what I saw, based on, the all 22 and my tape, and Daniel Jeremiah isn't just an analyst. He worked in front offices and scouted in this league for a long time. He said, Seattle looked like the better football team to me.
Yep. And I would say, this is what I would say about it. I look at the Seattle's, they are going to have that game at home circled against the Rams, and they're going to go, we can't let it happen again. And they're going to be on a revenge tour these next 3 to 4 weeks. They're just going to chop and go to work, and lunch pail mentality. And the thing I'll say too for, this team, to hear the way Ernest Jones talked about Sam and being that definitive about how he feels about it. It wasn't one of those things where you've seen players in the past come out and say, yeah, he's my quarterback, the T.O. crying emoji, whole spiel. Like, you could feel the sense that if someone had mouthed off about Sam Darnold, they were going to get to have to deal with Ernest Jones in a very unfriendly moment.
Do you want to hear it? Should we watch it again? Here we go.
Sam's been balling. Like, if we want to try to define Sam by this game or what, man, Sam's had us in every fucking game. So for him to sit there and say, oh, that's my fault. No, it's not. It was plays that defensively we could have made plays. There were opportunities where we could have got better stops. Yeah, I mean, like, it's football, man. And he's our quarterback. We got his back, and you got anything to say, quite frankly, fuck you.
That feels like a good thing to end on.
It's a great thing to end on.
Appreciate you, Coach. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
This one's new. I like it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the song I Love It Loud off Creatures of the Night from Kiss. What'd you think of that? Let me know down in the comments below how you feel. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your confidence level in Sam Darnold moving forward? Is he going to pull out of this and be okay? I think when you look back over the last, let's do some math, Dan. 17 plus 1 playoff game. That's 18. They've played 11 games this year, 10 games this year. So that's 28, isn't it? Sam Darnold's last 28 games playing for good teams with good offensive coordinators and good defenses. He's only had he's had 4 bad games. He threw 3 interceptions against the Jacksonville Jaguars last year and then came back to throw 0 interceptions over his next 5 games. So I think that's a pretty good sample size, and I expect good things from Sam this week in Tennessee and moving forward, and already can't wait for that rematch week 16. Shout out to my boys at Fast Fashion Brewing in Seattle and Soto on First Avenue next door to Hooverville, across the street from Showbox Soto. Voted their Crop Top Bavarian Pilsner, voted one of the top 20 beers in the nation by Craft Beer and Brew Magazine. Congrats to them. Stop by and check them out next time you're in Seattle. Or you know what? Make a trip. Go to Seattle. Their beer is that good. Until next time, follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever. Hit that subscribe button if you would. Head on over to the Hawks Eye podcast and subscribe to Bryce's channel also. And if you want to check out everything I do, all the content, Mariners, Seahawks, video, audio, Substack, all of it, nwforever.com. Stands for Northwest Forever. That's my umbrella. That website will take you to the Patreon and check out what I do there. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Forever and always, go Hawks.